Welcome back to the California Liberty Project podcast. My name is Greg. Thank you very much for downloading, for tuning in, even for watching on the brand new Rumble and brand new YouTube channels. So we're going to jump right in today. My guest is very busy, as you might imagine. It is Kira Davis. Now, Kira Davis is someone that I've become familiar with as far as her work on Red State. I've heard her on the radio. You've probably heard her. Maybe you listened to her podcast or one of her podcasts. And now she's running for school board down in Orange County. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. So without further ado, Kira, thank you very much for taking time with us today. And welcome to the California Liberty Project.
Thank you, Greg. It's my pleasure to be here. It's the day before Election Day that we're recording, and it's a very busy day, but it's my pleasure to take some time out and just talk to a fellow Liberty lover here in the Golden State.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So welcome aboard, and thank you very much. So please take a few minutes and tell us, or take a few seconds. Anything else there? I kind of just listed real high level stuff that I know about you, but we hadn't met before. What did I leave out? What else do you want to tell our listeners about yourself?
Well, I am a resident of Orange County, South Orange County. I am a transplant to California. Been living here about 15 years. My family and I moved out here from Indiana for work many years ago. I'm the deputy managing editor of redstate.com. And I am also an independent contractor and opinion journalist. And as you said, I am a candidate for school board here in South Orange County, Capital Unified School District. It's the second largest school district in the state. And we've had all the same problems that every other school district has had in the nation for the last few years. So I threw my hat in the ring, and I'm in the middle of my final day of campaigning here.
How's everything looking? I mean, how has the race been going for you? Let's talk about that. I'm curious about what it's like to run for school board.
It's brutal. It's brutal. You would think school board would be, the nicest race. It's parents and moms and dads at school, but it's absolutely brutal. The unions have outspent me 10-1 easy. And they've definitely stepped up their attacks. For a little while, they were following me around, but I haven't seen my trackers in a couple weeks, actually. So I don't know what to make of that. Maybe they just don't want to pay them anymore to follow me around, or maybe they don't think they need to. It's hard to tell because we don't do polling in local races like this. However, there are some really good signs. Enthusiasm is really high for my campaign. Everywhere I go, I'm talking to parents who are excited. I have a huge volunteer force, which that's always a great reflection of community enthusiasm for your campaign. And also Republicans at the county level are polling far ahead of Democrats in most races. So that always bodes well for the down ballot races as well. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling strong. It's hard to make a prediction just because you never know if that union money is going to be enough, is going to be the deciding factor. But I'll tell you that the unions have not been able to match our enthusiasm or our drive. That is for sure.
That is awesome. And I'm up here in Kern County, and I have a lot of friends, acquaintances, and people running for local offices in various school boards, school districts. And Kira, it just seems like there is so much energy and enthusiasm, just as you mentioned. I don't know about the money or the funding. Certainly the unions on the other side of things, we know what they're up to. Yeah. But that energy and enthusiasm for liberty lovers, for conservatives, for independents, it seems to be there this year for sure.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who, it's COVID. It was COVID. That is the tragic silver lining of COVID, is that it put us all more in touch with what's going on at our local levels, because Joe Biden, for all of his talk and bloviating and terrible management, he didn't close your school, right? Joe Biden didn't close your business. That's Joe right. Biden didn't close your church. That was all your local and state officials. And especially when it comes to school, that was your local officials. Your school board is, for lack of a better term, your localist form of government. Sure. And And so people are aware. They're figuring it out. Like, when I needed help from these people, these were the people that were actually keeping our lives shut down. And we need to make sure that that never happens again. So I am seeing enthusiasm. And it's not just that Republican voters seem to be enthused, but Democrat voters seem to be depressed as well. Right? Because there's not much for them to really go out and tout. I was watching a clip. I think Dave Rubin shared it today, or Frank Turek. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Anyways, I have campaign brain, by the way, Greg. So I'm like, I'm feeling it. It's.
I know it's crazy busy for you. I totally get it. Totally get it.
But I saw a clip today of some Democrat strategists on CNN yesterday, and they were one of the women. More power to her credit. She said, look, the Democrats are losing this election and it's their fault. People have been telling them it's the economy, stupid, and they're not listening. They're talking about abortion. They're talking about other things. They're talking about oil, but everyone else is talking about the economy. And the Republican strategist said, yes, I agree with you. The Democrats haven't done anything to solve problems. And she said, oh, no. It's not a facts problem. It's a messaging problem. Democrats have facts on their side, but people just don't understand it.
Wow.
Because the Democrats aren't messaging properly. Right. That's what I said. I was like, oh, these people, they're so out to lunch. They're just so out of touch. She genuinely thinks that it's a messaging problem. You can't message someone's wallet. When I'm paying $7 a gallon at the pump, that's not a messaging problem. That's a life problem. And there are a lot of Democrats out there who maybe don't want to vote for Republicans, but are just not going to vote at all.
Yeah. And then you still have true believers, like you're saying, just the cultists who I guess their answer is we're just going to cult harder no matter what.
Right.
I've seen even Politico is going to the mats with this. I think someone mentioned Politico, like, oh yeah, the generic congressional ballots, Dems are up by 1. It's okay, good luck.
Yeah.
Right. Good luck with that one.
Yeah, no, of course it's hopeful, but we see that every year. That's not anything different than this year.
Sure.
We see that every year in the election cycle, particularly when Dems are down, the media steps in, right?
Sure. And the Praetorian Guard,
rescue them. I think what's really going to be interesting, though, moving forward after this year, now that Elon's bought Twitter and Facebook is dealing with some lawsuits that are probably going to start bubbling up to the higher courts over the next few years when it comes to expression. I wonder how much this sort of thing is going to change moving into 2024 because the messaging mediums are changing, right?
Yeah.
So 2020, we didn't have a chance because of all the censorship.
Right.
And I work at Red State and I could tell you horror story after horror story, information that we have that we could not share with you because it was just getting yanked as soon as we would put it out there. I mean, you think but the depths of it is really, really shocking. But Elon Musk is going to change everything, at least on Twitter. So that's one platform that's going to change. So the information is going to change into 24. And then we'll see if messaging really does matter. I think it does.
Yes.
And I think it'll matter for Republicans.
Yeah, and I think to a certain extent, you're absolutely right. And the left seems to be losing home court advantage, at least on Twitter, right? And their brains are exploding, but, Meta's having problems. And
they're like the meltdown is actually humorous, right? It's so
beautiful.
Humorous.
Yeah.
To see these people, they have no self-awareness at all. It's stunning. They've just spent the last 2 years going, we have to ban some people and we're just trying to do what's right and save democracy. And now that they're on the losing end of that, they're like, oh, this isn't fair. One person shouldn't own this company. It should be socialized. Suddenly what they want to speak freely about, which by the way, nobody is stopping them. And that's what's amazing. Their definition of not being free is somebody else being able to talk at the same time.
Having an opposing viewpoint just to talk back to them. Imagine that. That's
literally their definition of oppression. And they're just losing their minds over it. So even if, even if Elon can't work out the Twitter thing, maybe it just goes away or turns into something different. I don't know. I don't care. It's been worth it.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't fully trust Elon, but I think, hey, it's great if he's kicking Kathy Griffin off and then trolling her. I'm fine with that, right? I'm happy right there.
Well, Elon's a businessman, and that is
Yeah,
fine. I mean,
yeah,
that's great. I don't. Again, first of all, everybody be wary of idolizing people, right? Like I see conservatives do this with Kanye West, and Ben Shapiro has said this before, but you live by the Kanye, you die by the Kanye.
yes,
And I mean, he's finding that out more than he probably wanted to know lately. But the whole point of that statement is that, look, all of these people they're just people. They have their own agendas. And a lot of these people aren't even, Elon Musk isn't a conservative.
no,
no. But that's the great thing about conservative politics. We don't need everyone to be conservatives in order for those politics to work for America. All we need is for people to be free. And then the message will move the voters. And it does when they're allowed to get it.
Yes, that's right. Kira, let me ask you, because you mentioned coming from Orange County, I saw, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but Orange County, I think the Board of Supervisors just this past week voted to authorize or to approve some new state of emergency on RSV. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? And if so, what's going on with that? Could that percolate down to schools in South Orange County or anywhere?
Absolutely. So we've had a resurgence of respiratory illness here in the county. This is unsurprising. It's actually sweeping through my daughter's school right now. 2 years of putting our immune systems on hold. It's going to have impact for quite a while. We're supposed to be out and about sharing germs with each other. It's very necessary. Right. And we haven't been doing that. So our immune systems are working to get up to speed again. And I'm not sure that they've been helped by this vaccine, or at least the boosters.
Yeah.
So we're working against that. But the Orange County Board of Supervisors is led by Democrats right now. We're working to change that. And I think they're just trying to get in some last minute strongholds before the election in case they lose. But we knew this was coming. Newsom has said he wasn't going to let go of his state of emergency powers until 2023, until February, which I doubt it he'll even do that then. But it's all for this. Now that they know that so many Californians are willing to lock themselves down in the name of the greater good, they intend to use every sickness as a state of emergency. There are some school districts in the state who fully intend after elections to bring back those masks for cold and flu season and just make them regular parts of the landscape every cold and flu season. So there are some people who are really, this has become like a crack epidemic, right? They've just become addicted to this power and they can't let it go. So they got to flex it wherever they can. The good news is that people are outraged, and I don't know how that, I think it was a move. It was a money move because you get some more funds if you're in an emergency, right? So I don't know how many people are going to comply with it anymore. But I can tell you that I'm running for my school board to make sure that our school district will never comply with that kind of ridiculousness.
So no more lockdowns. I assume you're totally anti-lockdown, anti-forced vaccination, of course.
No to everything.
Yes. Are they actually trying to push an RSV vax? I mean, I've heard rumblings of this from around the state. I mean, are they that insane or that cultist where they would go there?
Well, they're that greedy because all of that comes with money, contracts, right? The teachers union is actually heavily invested in Pfizer and Moderna, heavily invested to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars. So I did early on in the pandemic, I did dig into some of the CTA, the California Teachers Association's portfolio. Now, granted, portfolios are wide and they cover a whole array of things that you don't even know about. You and I have the same thing, even if you have a tiny one. But one of the things that they were invested in was a Chinese company that provides medical accessories like masks. You follow the money. There's a lot of incentive for Democrat groups to push lockdowns and states of emergencies. And it's just going to be up to the people to say no. And again, I'm running to say no. Absolutely not. No mandates, no lockdowns, no closures, and no on teachers being the final decision makers when it comes to education outcomes in the classroom. Parents need to be involved in that process too. And if I win this seat, the unions lose a seat on our school board. And that's one of the reasons why they're pushing really, really hard against me in these final days. Like, it's been brutal.
And that's why we're rooting for people like yourself and hundreds of others around the state to take away that union spot at the table, or at least that slot at the school board. Let me ask you about CRT here also. I know CRT blew up, critical race theory. You know, a decade ago, there were only a few kind of theorists and philosophers who kind of knew what it was, right? CRT now has been fully branded, and it kind of became almost like a No Child Left Behind, or it became like a, one of these like watchwords, right? That now we all know of. And it's really bad, and it's awful. It's a way to shoehorn left-wing ideologies into schools. Is it now radioactive enough, Kira, where we're going to get away from outright CRT? Or has, what I'm worried about here, and tell me what you think, is has it been kind of Trojan horsed into other things? Like, people are now talking about SEL, social and emotional learning, and other things like that. Do we have to now watch a bunch of other things that CRT might have been shoehorned or snuck into?
Yeah, no, they thought they were going to get away with just doing the CRT thing, but we noticed, right? And then we didn't just notice, we educated ourselves on what it was. And as a matter of fact, if any of you out there in the listening audience would like a primer on CRT, an explainer, I think I did 2 episodes of my podcast on it. My podcast is Just Listen to Yourself with Kira Davis, and you can find that anywhere. But I did 2 explainer podcasts. I try to break it down in a way that you can simplify it, because it is a very complicated, it's not meant for schools. It's meant for college level, discussion. And so it's really hard for people, regular, average people, to discuss what CRT is. You know it when you see it, but you don't know how to explain it. So I help you with that if you're looking for something to help you sort of express what it is. But because CRT has become such a flashpoint, and they didn't expect it, again, they have shifted, right? It's now turned into social emotional learning, but the way it gets Trojan horsed into your school isn't in curriculum so much. Sometimes you'll get lucky enough to find a outright curriculum point, but mostly it comes to you in the form of teacher trainings and staff trainings, right? So they hire these critical race theory based, what do you want to call them? Social emotional consultants.
Yeah, consultants.
We pay them $30,000, $40,000. They come in, they run a teacher training, and in the training they outline, here's how you treat, here's how you ask kids their pronouns, here's how you keep parents out of the loop so they don't get alarmed when you're teaching about LGBT issues. Here's some books that you can donate. Like, here's ways that you can get these books into the classroom without the school board seeing them. If somebody donates the books, they don't have to get reviewed by the school board. Stuff like that. Here's how you deal with LGBT kids. Here's how you deal with girls who complain about transgender boys in their bathrooms. They have all of this stuff. So it never really comes to you in this like nice, neat little package. It's coming to you in the forms of training the people you're supposed to trust with your child's heart, body, and education in the classroom. It trains those people to treat your child as an activist, or an activist in training, or these days a transgender child in training. And it's very deliberate, and it's deliberately sneaky. So you do have to watch out. And some of this stuff, if you don't know what CRT is, it might look like, oh, okay, this is nice, but you need to be on the lookout for the buzzwords, and you need to be seeing what's going on at your school board meetings, because that's where these trainings get voted for and approved.
Very good. Very good. Let me ask you too, because you're probably really up on this. I would imagine probably more knowledgeable than myself, but in our audience here, I know that we've been looking out for July 2023. As early as that date, I think Newsom said he could basically bring back the mandate, at least for, I believe, approved vaccines. And it all gets a little bit technical with what's actually been approved versus what's not approved, right? But Are you worried about that, or is that something you're up on? Are we going to see mandates for next school year as far as vaccines, or are they really going to try to play this out through the legislature starting in January of next year?
Yeah, no, they're gonna keep pushing this until the voters tell them no. I'll tell you, Greg, a lot's going to change after tomorrow. Right,
Yes.
their strategy because if it's a bloodbath in the state, and keep in mind that a bloodbath in California for politics looks a little different than it does,
right,
across. If it's just not an overwhelming majority for Democrats, that's our version.
Yeah, take away their supermajority, right? That's like our big spike the football touchdown moment.
That's right. But I think at the local levels, we're going to see a lot of city councils and school boards flip over, and then that's going to probably be a protector for Newsom at the top, right? Like, am I going to just be made to look a fool the way that Huntington Beach and Newport made him look like a fool during the COVID lockdowns, and they refused to comply, and they really made him look like a tyrant, and like how he just punished them discriminately. And we're going to see, I think, a shift if we see some of the local races shift, so that they might not come down so hard because they don't want to risk future elections. They don't want to risk 24. They don't want to risk their supermajority. But yeah, absolutely. Of course, no bad idea goes away with the Democrats in Sacramento. It just goes, they just put different lipstick on it and give it a new name and shove it back out there. Like, of course they want mandates. Of course they do.
Yeah.
I do not believe that a vaccine mandate will stand. I do not believe it. A COVID vaccine mandate, I do not believe it will withstand a court challenges. At some point, it's going to bubble all the way up to the Supreme Court, and there we'll get a win. I also know that I have absolutely no intention of allowing our school district to comply with any mandates. Good. And if we flip our board, I have every intention of suing the state.
Awesome.
On behalf of our district.
That's awesome. That's really good to hear. And I know that a lot of us are really worried about what comes out of radical districts like Scott Wiener. Nobody thinks that it's like he almost took it personal. I think a lot of people worry about that. We defeated him in SB 866, but a lot of people are worried about, oh boy, in the new year, he's going to come back with a vengeance. And the big question, let me ask you this really quick, is if Newsom gets back in there, obviously he's probably thinking that he wants to be the Democrat nominee. Is he going to moderate? I've heard a school of thought where he might, quote, moderate a little bit. Or is he just going to keep the pedal to the floor and keep punishing us, Kira, in your opinion?
The thing about Newsom is that he is not an ideologue at all. He is just really an empty suit politician. I have it on good authority from some people who know him personally that he's actually more conservative than people think. But he just is also a politician, and he just wants to win. And unfortunately, the extremist progressive wing of the Democrat Party has taken over. And so that's the base now. And he's going to have to cater to them. So would he like to moderate? I think he would. And I think he knows how to moderate. That's how he ran for mayor of San Francisco. He actually had a decent platform when he ran for mayor of San Francisco. I know plenty of Republicans who voted for him in San Francisco because he had a really decent plan for dealing with the homeless, which was enforcement and mental health services, like all the stuff we say needs to be done. But then he didn't do any of it, right? Because that's not where the lobbyist money comes from. It comes from the extremist, the homeless lobby, and the people who want all that stuff to keep going. So could he moderate? Gavin Newsom absolutely has it within him to moderate. Please do not assume he is not an ideologue. And I don't think he stands for anything. He literally is an empty suit. So he'll do what he has to do in order to win. And that's how he's been this successful so far. That being said, does the California message translate to the rest of the country? I mean, we've already seen how it worked with Kamala. Yeah. And I mean, it's not going too well. What happens when she has to face like a slightly hostile press? She just melted. And I actually think Newsom's going to do the same.
Well, Kamala is still putting together a Venn diagram on how to deal with the press, I think. Or whatever.
I'm going to grab my popcorn, though, because I know she has no intention of going quietly into the night.
This is going to be fascinating, then, if it's going to be Californian on Californian political rivalry for 2024. Because
they don't like each other. They used to be buddy for a lot of reasons that are that are rumors here in this state, but they don't like each other anymore. And half the party doesn't like Kamala and half the party doesn't like Newsom. So
And Biden's getting tossed. It appears that way, but
Biden is like not even in the equation. Like no one cares.
Yeah, he's like yesterday's news, right? He's out like Hunter. Well, Kira, it's been great chatting with you. I know we're going to keep this quick to respect your time. You're on the campaign trail, or maybe you just need some rest or have some more events today. But we wish you the best of luck. We hope that you're successful in your election. You get in there and just really tear things up metaphorically. Good luck with everything.
Thank you, Greg. And I hope you'll invite me back so we can do a postmortem.
Absolutely.
Election. I'd love to come back. I frankly, I love the idea. What made me say yes to your request for interview is that you were a California-based podcast. And I think California news is really national news. And anybody who's willing to step up and make sure that folks are informed about what's happening here in the state, I'm all for it. So I'm already a big fan of the podcast, and good luck.
Awesome.
To you.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Yeah, when you're starting up a new podcast, it's great to get guests such as yourself, and I really appreciate your time. Before you go, what would you like people to? Everyone should be following you. For those who don't, where can they follow your work one more time, Kira?
Well, follow me on Twitter at Real Kira Davis. That's where I have everything. And if you're interested in the school board race, you can go to Instagram at Kira4, F-O-R, Kira for School Board. You can go to kiraforschoolboard.org to find out about the race and how that's going. And honestly, if you just Google my name, a lot of stuff is going to come up. I am not the Kira Davis who is the Hollywood producer. There is, believe it or not, there's a very famous Hollywood producer named Kira Davis. And
she's not a conservative, I'm guessing? I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, she's in Hollywood. She works with Hugh Jackman. They're like production partners a lot. So I always know when Hugh Jackman's doing a new movie because her name starts coming up in the Google alerts.
Nice. Very nice. Well, Kira, best of luck. Yeah, and we hope to have you back on as a guest, spend more time breaking things down here in California. Thanks very much. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, Greg. I hope to come back as a winner.
Awesome. We're sure that'll be the case.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.